guys, welcome back to another episode of the Property Source and Success Show. And what I really do want to talk to you guys about today, I think this is important, is what property sourcing really is. And to be perfectly honest and frank, you know what most people think property sourcing is? They think it's a fucking cowboy shit show. They think it's a scam. They think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. They think it's a grind. They think it's constantly chasing agents. It's constantly hounding investors. It's constantly posting deals that nobody actually buys. But the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, if you do it right, sourcing can buy you something way more valuable than money. And I know that to be true because it's exactly how I started my career in property. It's the very thing that opened the doors for me to achieve the things I have achieved in property, to have the life that we currently have, to have access to the opportunities that I have been presented with over the last 8 years. So if you get it right, sourcing buys something that is way more valuable than money. It buys you freedom. It buys you flexibility. It buys you choice. And I'm not talking about the kind of Instagram version of freedom, the gram, right? I'm not talking about the sipping cocktails, with a laptop on your legs at the beach and like just the feet in shot for the Instagram pic. How many of those have we seen? I mean actual freedom. I mean real freedom. I mean the ability to switch your phone off for a few days. I mean the ability to go away for the weekend and not panic that your income will take a dip or dry up. And I spoke about this recently online. It was at some point this week, which is why I was inspired to do the podcast episode, because I had a lot of people reach out to me off the back of a post I did about a recent client, Tom, and exactly what he had built, which is exactly what I've just spoken about. That freedom, that time, that choice. And Tom has built that. And it all started with one simple shift in how he ran his sourcing business. So to give you a bit of a background on Tom, when Tom first reached out to me, he was, I think exhausted would be a fair word, drained, a little bit deflated. He had tried everything. He had tried co-sourcing. He had tried running Facebook ads. He had tried doing the God forbid the leaflet drops. He had even tried cold DMs, which might even be worse than direct to vendor. But he was spending a lot of money, he was spending a lot of time, he was spending a lot of energy trying to do what everybody said that he should do. But it wasn't working. And his deal flow was patchy at best, and that's me being very kind to it. His investor list was shrinking, and his confidence was in absolute tatters. When Tom came into the six-figure sourcing mastermind, there was a period of 11 weeks and everything changed. Within that 11-week time frame, he hit £25,000 in sourcing fees inside a 7-day time frame. But the part that actually makes me the proudest, the part that I am thrilled about, is that he travels now every few weeks. Whether it was, I think the last time I was Thailand, Germany, Latvia, already planning a Christmas trip to the markets in Poland. So he's really built a business that works for him and not the other way around. And this is really important. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. Not just how to make more money from sourcing, not just how to increase your cash flow, but how to build a flexible lifestyle from it. Freedom, guys, in the world of property sourcing isn't luck. It's a byproduct of having a structure in your business. People think that freedom means doing what you want when you want. But in business, that's chaos. If you do what you want when you want within your property business, it's a one-way road to hell. Real freedom comes from systems. It comes from being strategic. It comes from knowing exactly where your next deal is coming from. It comes from knowing exactly where your next investor is coming from. So Tom didn't just get lucky, because he's been doing this consistently now for several months. So he didn't just get lucky. He put the right foundations in place. He learned how to build real relationships with agents, not just ask them for below market value deals. He followed a very structured investor marketing process. It wasn't paid for. He didn't need to do ads for it, but it allowed him to filter out the time wasters automatically. Really important. How many times, if you're listening to this podcast, how many times have you found yourself talking to Investors, how many times have you found yourself being ghosted? How many times have you found yourself having conversations with investors who won't pay you a commitment fee, who won't send you proof of funds, who have challenged your sourcing fee? They are everywhere. So if you want to do really well in sourcing and you want to have exceptional cash flow, but more importantly, you want to have freedom, you want to have flexibility, you want to have choice, then you need to have a marketing process in place for investors that filters out the third thing that Tom did was he stopped listening to piss poor advice from people who hadn't made a penny in sourcing, and they're everywhere, the armchair sourcers, right? So once he had that in place, his income became predictable, and that is what creates flexibility. The predictability gives flexibility. I'm going to say that to you again because I really want you to hear it and understand it. Predictability in your sourcing business, knowing where your deal flow is coming from, knowing where your investors are coming from, that is predictability, that is flexibility. But let's be very clear, this only works if you go all in. If you're going to half-ass it, good luck with the results. Property sourcing isn't a side hustle if you half-ass it and expect to live off it. It is a business that when treated properly can create a full-time income in part-time hours. I know this to be true because I started my career in property via the medium of property sourcing 8 years ago when I was on maternity leave, and my goal was to replace the corporate salary so I didn't have to go back to that job because I needed more time in my life now. I needed more flexibility. I needed part-time hours without the part-time pay. So the people who win in sourcing are the ones that treat it like a profession, not a punt at the bookies. They invest in the right systems. They know their numbers. They follow up relentlessly. And most importantly, they stop chasing the next shiny penny and they double down on what actually works. So for Tom, that meant mastering one thing: agent relationships and investor alignment. No leaflets, no ads, no cold DMs, just strategy. And now the same strategy that we worked on putting in place for him pays for his lifestyle. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I want that kind of flexibility, I want a sourcing business that gives me time back and not takes it away, then it is time to take your sourcing seriously. And if you've been following me for a while, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, if you get my daily email blogs, if you're following me on my social platforms, you will know that this is exactly what we do inside the Six Figure Sourcing Mastermind. We help you build predictable deal flow, attract real investors, create a business that funds the lifestyle that you want, not the one that you're trying to escape from. Here's the reality, guys. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's just not. But I can tell you, if you take it seriously, if you are prepared to put the work in, if you're prepared to roll your sleeves up, if you're prepared to say, I'm going to give this my all, then genuinely, it can change your life. I know it to be true because it changed mine. I know it to be true because I've helped so many people across the UK and the north of Ireland do exactly the same over the last 5 years. So if that resonates with you guys, drop me a message on my social channels. You can find me on Facebook, Danielle Bell. You can find me on Instagram, I am Danielle Bell Property. Just drop me the word freedom and I'll share exactly how Tom built his business step by step. And the reality is, if he can do it in 11 weeks, there's no reason why you can't do it too. It all depends on how hungry you are to get after it. Guys, if this episode has been useful, as always, I ask that you tag, that you share with somebody who needs to listen to it today. And I will catch you next week. Bye-bye.